How best to incorporate green issues into your secondary teaching? Well, today on Resource Review, we're evaluating 3 resources that might just help. They are an Environment Centre visit, a Developing World role-play game, and a website that encourages mobile phone recycling. Recommending today's resources is Maggie Smith, lecturer in education at the Open University and chair of the Geographical Association's Environmental and Sustainable Development Education Working Group. On the panel today is Kim Jackson. Kim is the Environmental Education Officer for Brighton and Hove City Council, and Adrienne Jones, an education consultant. And Matthew Tosh, our roving resource investigator, is out and about seeing what teachers and pupils think of the resources. Maggie, your first choice of resource for us today is a recommendation to visit an environment centre. Now, what does that entail and why are you recommending it?
Environment centres model good practice in sustainability. They show young people that sustainable actions are actually doable and workable. And so, if you like, it offset to a certain extent the doom and gloom that sometimes comes with talking about sustainability. This is practical learning, it's hands-on learning and it's fun. It fits into many subjects, everything from art through geography to science, and it's appropriate for years 7, 8 and 9. It's also equally appropriate for GCSE and for post-16.
Thank you. Well, Matthew Tosh, our resource investigator, visited one such centre, the Islington Ecology Centre, where 2 North London schools are learning about wind turbines.
We're here at the Islington Ecology Centre. Now, the centre is run in an environmentally friendly way. They've got a wind turbine, they recycle grey water and they heat water using solar heat. They run a range of activities, both indoors and outdoors, for local school children. And we're going to see one of these now. It's the Wind Turbine Challenge with some local Year 9 students.
Off you come. There's the pulley at the back. So I've got a big pulley here and a small black pulley on the motor, which is going to act as a generator.
A wind turbine that's supposed to be about 30 centimetres high.
Catherine, there's been lots of activity going on this morning. Can you tell me how you've been using the Eco Centre today?
Well, it's the first time we visited the Eco Centre and we were quite excited to be coming down here. And the students have been building their own wind turbine, which has been tested in a wind tunnel. They've responded really well, actually. They've really taken on the challenge. They've been working collaboratively together in their teams. They do energy and electricity as one of their topics, and as part of that topic they explore renewable resources of energy, so it fits in really well with the national curriculum. What's been really nice about today is coming to a centre like this, so not only are they focused on their engineering skills and building the wind turbine, but they've had an introduction to some of the other things that are happening at the Ecology Centre, so it's broadened our mind into thinking about the wider issues. I like the fact that they practice what they preach. They use organic paints, they've got a wind turbine outside, and they're supporting a habitat for different organisms.
And so your overall impressions of the Ecology Centre?
It's an environmentally friendly resource that's here for the whole community.
Thank you very much, Catherine. From an environmentally friendly place, let's go to a friendly person. It must be Hermione.
Are there other places like this up and down the country for all schools to access?
Yes, there are lots of centres, some specialist and large centres like Bishopswood in Worcestershire and the Alternative Technology Centre in Hebden Bridge in Yorkshire. But there are also environment centres in many urban areas.
Kim, do you think it's a good idea for schools to get out there and visit an environment centre?
Oh, definitely, yes. You should go beyond the classroom as much as possible if you really can.
Do you think there's a tendency that these are just sort of fun days out and they're not really tied into the learning?
Oh, I think that's really down to the teacher to tie it into the learning, into the curriculum, because that's clearly where the children are going to get the benefit. Certainly the Islington one, I've been to that centre and it's just a lovely little oasis of sustainability. They do practice what they preach there, and it's good for children to see that actually happening before their eyes.
Adrienne, what are your thoughts?
Well, the most important thing about this is that the DCSF have produced a manifesto about learning outside the classroom. And it is an important element of this. You know, centres like this are important places to go in order to learn outside the classroom. So there is a project which is out and about, for which there are going to be resources produced generally to do with how you deal with health and safety on visits, what kind of work you do, the way it fits into the curriculum.
How realistic is it to get out to a centre? Do you think schools are supported enough to do that?
Well, I think one value of these environment centres is that here there are expert staff, subject specialists, who can actually give that extra support to teachers in relation to the national curriculum.
Well, time now to move on to Maggie's second choice of resource for us today, and it's a booklet produced by Christian Aid called The Poverty Challenge. Explain this resource to us, Maggie, and why you've recommended it.
Thank you. The Poverty Challenge is a simulation game. It asks young people to empathise with families living in less economically developed countries and to think about changes and choices that they might make to make their life more sustainable. It's an amazingly flexible resource. It's very well supported in terms of guidance for teachers. It can be adapted to extend it, it can be reduced according to the time that's appropriate, it can be modified to suit children of different ages and of different abilities. So from that point of view, very well structured for teachers.
And is everything you need to do this contained within the booklet?
Absolutely everything. It even contains photocopyable resources which are reusable. This is green that's not just focusing on nature, but in fact sustainable development actually encompasses looking at politics, looking at society, looking at cultural issues, as well as looking at nature and natural issues.
Thank you. Well, Matthew visited Lawrence Sheriff School in Rugby, where Richard Langton and his Year 8 class rose to the challenge and put the Poverty Challenge to the test.
Poverty Challenge is a simulation game which is aimed to teach children about life in a developing world country. Pupils take on the role of families, and the teacher using the resource throws different scenarios at them. Now the children get to monitor their crops, they can choose whether to send someone to training or not, learn about the effect of NGOs on their community, and at the end of each season they monitor and evaluate how they've done. Well, the lesson's about to start, so it's Richard Langton with his Year 8s, so let's see how he gets on with Poverty Challenge.
Now you're organised into teams today, and you've each got a placard on your desk with a different country's name on it. We're going to simulate different years in the life of living in that particular country. You're going to take your crop to the market trader and they will record how many you've actually produced during the year. And guys, keep walking. Sorry, shade it in on there. We want to go first, please.
Richard, we found a quiet corner. Can you tell me how the lesson went today?
I thought it went generally pretty well, actually. The kids were engaged, they were enjoying it, they understood it, they managed to sort of fit into their team groups very well and work very well.
Now there are lots of hands-on activities in this pack. How does that add value to your lessons?
It gives the students more ownership, actually gets them thinking about the implications of different decisions and chance cards and so on that are put into it, and they do actually relate it to people's lifestyles.
Now each of the market traders should have already filled in how much water you collected, and they need to make sure that you fill in how much goods you actually harvested.
But is there not a danger that you can get bogged down in playing a game and not actually learn anything from this?
I think there is if you leave it too long. I think the fact you need to sort of keep 5-6 minute intervals so that there are constant reminders of what they're doing and debriefing and get them to evaluate. Anything that engages the students to get them to think about world issues like that is positive.
So Richard, if I asked you to summarise a resource in a sentence, what would you say?
An effective and engaging resource that the students enjoy playing.
Thank you very much. And on that note, let's go back to the studio.
Adrienne, what did you make of the Poverty Challenge?
I liked the way that it encouraged young people to empathise with families around the world, in the sense that it says what kind of house you live in, what kind of crops you might grow, and then poses problems. The rainfall was down this year. You've got a problem, you haven't got such a yield that you had the year before. So it isn't just about sustainable work, it's, you know, geographical, it's scientific, it's looking at maths. and I liked it because it has that cross-curricular potential.
Kim, are you a fan of this resource?
Yes, I think it's a very good resource. As a teacher, you would seriously have to do your homework beforehand to prep, but it's all there in the pack. So once you've got it prepped, it even tells you what you need in your classroom and the size of the room that you need. So it's sort of really down to the nth degree. What I also like about it is it actually encourages good teamwork within the pupils, so I think that's all to be encouraged, definitely.
Thank you. Well, let's move on to Maggie's third choice of resource for us today, and it's a website from Oxfam called Bring Bring. Tell us about the website, Maggie.
It has many angles to it. The one that I particularly picked out was a recycling scheme for mobile phones. And I thought this was excellent. The mobile phone recycling is an activity that gets young people organised to set up a recycling scheme. And to my mind, one of the real values of this is that it doesn't just operate inside the school, but it can also extend outside the school to the families and to the local community.
Right, OK. And we've got some examples here of the kind of printouts that the pupils or the teacher could download to help facilitate that. Let's see what the panel think briefly. Adrienne.
I think anything to get young people thinking about their use of mobile phones is a good scheme. One of the things that I felt the material on the web could do was look a little more at the politics of mobile phones. It doesn't go into that. It talks about the historical development of communications technology. You know, it talks about reusable energy, it talks about how to actually sustain mobile phone use so they're not just thrown away. But I thought it could actually offer a slightly wider picture.
I agree that it doesn't cover that angle, but I thought there was enough material in there to act as a launch to thinking political issues. There is a part at the end that actually has activities to take the resource further.
Kim, what do you think of this resource?
I got into the website and then got carried away by following the links to lots of different pages, which I found was really, really interesting. I loved the fact file. I like this bit. It said 1 mobile phone recycled could provide 5 school books and 20 mobiles could buy 2 donkeys.
Right. So you're right, it could really lead on to other issues.
Yes, exactly. That just makes it very real for young people.
That just encourages them to get more mobile phones, though, and keep changing them more often.
But it did have an activity that was a cost-benefit analysis, where young people were actually asked to sit down and work out the costs and the benefits of owning a mobile phone. So maybe having done that, they might think twice.
Well, thank you all very much. That's all we've got time for today. But to recap, the 3 resources that we've looked at are Environment Centres. We've looked at Islington Ecology Centre, run by Islington Council. Poverty Challenge from Christian Aid, and Bring Bring from Oxfam Education. For more information about the resources that we've discussed today, go to our website. It's teachers.tv/resource review, or if you want to, email us, resourcereview@teachers.tv. I'd like to say a very big thank you to our panel today, to Maggie, to Kim and to Adrienne, and thank you for joining us. See you next time on Resource Review. Bye-bye.